Hello everyone, Mocha Bear here. Welcome back to Mocha Bear's Hobby Den. Today we're going to talk about the little comparisons and differences between the 2024 and the 2014 D&D 5th Edition Player's Handbook. Shall we get started? We are going to be talking about the differences and comparisons, things I like and I don't like. So I've shown you plenty of times before here on the channel the 2014 5th edition D&D Player's Handbook, and this is the 2024 5th edition D&D Player's Handbook. Now, the 2024 edition definitely has more pages. In fact, I have them right here next to me. It's just easier to show you the digital stuff, but just to show you the difference in their thickness. This is probably the better way to show it. There we go. So you can see, obviously, the 2024 is much thicker than the 2014. My goodness, 2014. If I'm still alive then, I am sorry. I am haunting you at that point. But I do like the artwork in it. I do like the cover a little better than the 2014. I'm going to do like a much more in-depth video later on about the comparisons and differences, especially just going over the 2024 Player's Handbook. But there's one thing I really wanted to point out, and I normally would just show you all digitally, but it's a lot easier just to show you physically. In the front of the 2014 Player's Handbook, it tells you about how you can get your stats and everything. The introduction. Chapter 1 is step-by-step characters, beyond first level, all that. So it gives you introduction, preface, the different types of dice, how to use the player's handbook. Then part 1 or chapter 1 is create a character. And well, I'm sorry, it is part 1. So it tells you choose a race, choose a class, determine ability scores, describe your character, all of that. And it shows you the ability score summary, like what class or what races and sub races get what ability score increases, because you know how in the 2014 actually perfect example, let's go ahead and go to dwarfs get a constitution score increase of 2, and then the hill dwarf sub race gets a wisdom increase score by 1 versus the mountain dwarf getting a strength score increase by 2. The mountain dwarf is the only race by the book that gets 2 plus 2s to ability scores. So they're really good for barbarians. They're gonna be beefy. In this book, also the 2014, it has you for character creation, playable races that come with ability score increases. Then you have the classes, and then you have backgrounds. And the backgrounds give you more items, they give you more features and skills. Also, let me show you, just for example, we'll bring up the cleric. So here's the first page for cleric. First 2 pages. You've got their table here showing you all the things that they get at what level, and a little bit of information about them, then their features and stats and whatnot. Thing that the 2024 Player's Handbook did, it definitely simplified character creation. So we have chapter 1, playing the game. Again, it goes over the dice, the damage types. It gives you the 6 abilities, and it tells you what they are used for. So like right here in the 2014 Player's Handbook, that was further towards the back after backgrounds, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was like, I think it was in the chapter right before feats even. You get all that right here at the beginning of the book. You don't have to go all the way back. It tells you about the D20 tests, tells you about proficiencies, your attack rolls, actions, and it tells you the skills, which definitely weren't at the front. Those were in the back as well. So they definitely made all this stuff at the front. You got information on different actions, bonus actions, reactions, social interaction examples, which I think is really cool. This definitely is more beginner friendly versus the 2014 one. However, that was kind of friendly Granted, I did have to teach myself how to do everything, but it gives you all this information at the front, right at the get-go, and even the conditions are here at the front. I think that is the best place for them. Chapter 2 is creating a character. So here it shows you choose a class. There we go. Choose a class, and it tells you their priority abilities and their complexity, as well as what they like. So complexity for a barbarian is average. Bard is high because they have a lot more stuff they have to consider to maintain, especially sorcerer and warlock. However, I'm not too sure about the 2024 warlock. I have not used it yet. But monk, bard, sorcerer, they have a lot they have to juggle. I guess with warlock you have to juggle with your spell slots, make sure you don't run out. The new character sheets I do like. It's kind of similar to the one that I use now. I don't use the default one that's shown in the back of the 2020. I did it again, the 2014 Player's Handbook. This is a bit more well organized in my opinion. I do like the look of it. I like the placement of everything, and it's only 2 sheets versus 3. I can understand if you're a wizard, depending on if you're going for max stats and everything, you would have more, because if you go with a high elf wizard, but they kind of fixed that with things here. So we will move on. So first, also languages are right here in chapter 1 or chapter 2, sorry, but they're right here with the race options, like before you start picking your races. Everything is in there. That is awesome. Because in 2014, they're in the back before backgrounds. They're actually on the, I think, 2 or 4 pages before backgrounds. But yeah, you've got all that, and again, it gives, and then we have the ability scores are here, same as it is in the 2014. You have point cost, so you can point by, you have the standard array, and then you have you can roll. And another thing I like is the standard array by class. So in the Player's Handbook for 2014, the standard array, it's the same numbers. So you got 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8. However, here it's by class, so it shows you what class, what your stats should be with that class, which I think is for better optimization. You choose your alignments, level advancement, starting equipment at higher levels. So it tells you your fixed hit points by class. It tells you your starting equipment at higher levels. So starting level 2 to 4, you get normal starting equipment and then 1 common magic item. For the fixed hit points by class, Barbarian, 7+ con modifier. So it tells you right there. Now, I do not like that the fixed hit point by class is here. I do not like that. I personally would prefer that to be in the class section with the actual classes. So you're like, okay, Barbarian, what's my hit? Okay, it's right here. Here, you actually have to go through chapter 2 to find it. And then it goes over multi-classing. Trinkets are all here, right here in the front in chapter 2. So I like the fact that a lot of this stuff is here. Now, character classes. Chapter 3 is the main customization for your character creation. Much different from the 2014 Player's Handbook, where it's playable races, classes, and then you get your backgrounds. Here, you get your character classes, then I believe your backgrounds, then you get to pick your playable races. Let me double check just to make sure, so I'm not giving you false information. Of course, if anything I'm telling you here is incorrect, please feel free to correct me. Just be kind about it, because I am still new with this book. I've looked over it and still am finding things out. But yeah, chapter 3 is character classes. Chapter 4 is character origins. So that's your your backgrounds. And then you also get your species descriptions in chapter 4. So yeah, it's very, like, the organization is completely different. Each class has 4 subclasses now, versus the 2014, some had 2, and then the wizard had, what, 7? abjuration, conjuration, divination, enchantment, evocation, illusion, necromancy, and transmutation. So 8. The wizard had 8 subclasses in the 2014, well, has in the 2014 Player's Handbook. The most subclass options in that book. Most have 3. Here, everything has 4. And they even have pictures. So we have, just to point out, the barbarian, female Goliath. We have features here. So on the next page, just like in the 2014, we have the table showing proficiencies, your bonus, your features, your rages, and all that. Everything is well organized, but then the subclasses I like. Each have a picture representing that subclass. I like that. So we have Path of the Berserker, we have Path of the Wild Heart, Path of the World Tree, and Path of the Zealot. So those of you who are playing or have played or seen Baldur's Gate 3 gameplay, you'll see that this kind of reflects a little better into that. Here we go. So Bard. You have your core Bard traits. So I forgot to show that with the Barbarian. You have your core traits here. Focus. So it tells you your primary ability, where in the 2014, you have to read the paragraph before you start getting all the details for character creation of that class. Here it shows you everything. Again, it doesn't show you your starting hit points. You have to look in chapter 2 to do that. But then for spells, here we go. So you got this page showing you the features and everything. But then before we get to the subclasses, Bard list spell. That is right there in the Bard Bard section of the class chapter. It shows you all the available spells. It tells you what school they're from and whether they are concentration, ritual, or if it requires a material component. That is really cool. I think that is like the best thing they have done with this book, is they included the spells right there in the class, so you don't have to go all the way to the back and flip-flop between what spell. Now, of course, it helps knowing what the spell does when it comes to like, okay, I don't need to flip back. I know what I want. You're going to need to flip to the back to read what the spells do if you're brand new. But just the fact that they are here, you don't have to go all the way back there, look up the spell list for the classes and go, okay, so that's that, while having your finger on the class page, and then moving your third fingers or fourth fingers or whatever to the page with the spell description. I think that is the best thing that they did with this book, was including the spells that you can pick right there. Now, let's go ahead and we'll move on to, and again, all classes have 4 subclasses, so the wizard did get a lot taken out. We have the abjurer, the diviner, the evoker, and the illusionist. That's it. I really hope that they plan on releasing. Now, of course, this is compatible with the 2014 stuff to an extent. So, like, you could pick the base wizard stats from this, from the 2024, and then use the subclass stuff from the 2014 if your DM allows it. So make sure you communicate with your DM, or as a DM, communicate with your players what you offer, like what they can do. If you want them to only stick with the 2024 rules, then make sure you announce that at the beginning. Say, hey, I want to do a strict 2024 rules D&D 5e game. This is what your options are. You can't go to 2014. Though that does suck because you're limiting them on what subclasses they can get. So that is one thing I do not like that they did. And a lot of them are reworks of what's in the 2014. Some of them are reworks from other books like Tasha's Cauldron. In fact, where's the Rogue? So we have, Rogue has the Arcane Trickster, the Assassin, but then they have the Soul Knife option, which was from Tasha's Cauldron. And then they have Thief. It's just my personal taste is that I'm not a fan that they cut out so many subclasses from some things, and that they only brought over certain ones. Because like for the druid, you have Circle of the Land, you have Circle of the Moon, Circle of the Sea, and then Circle of the Stars, which is pretty cool, which is going to be added. Circle of Stars is going to be added to Baldur's Gate 3, so I know a lot of people are happy about that. But yeah, so let's move on from that. So we have the character origins in chapter 4. So it gives you background descriptions, and by descriptions, it just tells you what they are. It doesn't describe them to you. So it's a horrible example. It's a horrible thing to call it background descriptions when it just tells you, now, these are the descriptions. So, example, we have Acolyte. It gives you a brief little insert about it. All of them have that. These are your backgrounds, but they're called origins now. So this is where you get your ability scores. You can pick intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. Background list 3. Yeah, here we go. So it's right there at the beginning of chapter 4, page 177. It says a background includes the following parts. Ability scores. A background lists 3 of your character's ability scores. Increase 1 by 2 and another 1 by 1. Or increase all 3 by 1. Okay, so you do get the option to do that. However, you do not get to pick any score. You have to pick, for the Acolyte, you can only pick intelligence, wisdom, and or charisma. You do get a feat, however. I do feel like it does kind of take away. I love getting a feat at the beginning, but I feel like it takes away because the background or your origin also gave you a feature that played to the character's story. They replaced that with just a feat. And yeah, that's cool mechanics wise for like combat, or it's mostly combat, not a lot of the stuff for roleplay. There are some for roleplay though, but I felt like the character's background in the 2014 book, the background feature gave you more roleplay material. And then you get tool proficiency, and then you get equipment. For equipment, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I forgot to talk about your equipment for your class. So you do get equipment for your class, like always. You can choose A or B. So for example, Rogue, choose A or B. For A, you get leather armor, 2 daggers, short sword, short bow, 20 arrows, quiver, thieves tools, and burglar's pack, as well as 8 GP or 8 gold pieces. If you go with B, you get 100 gold pieces. Now, most classes have just 2 options. However, if I remember correctly, the fighter gets 3 options. So option A is chainmail, greatsword, flail, 8 javelins, dungeoneer's pack, and 4 gold pieces. Option B, studded leather armor, scimitar, short sword, longbow, 20 arrows, quiver, and dungeoneer's pack with 11 gold pieces. Or option C, 155 gold pieces. So from what I recall looking through here, the fighter gets the option of most gold. Again, your background and your origins give you equipment options as well. You get 2 options, A or B. And then after you got, and again, there are a few more options for these than there were in the 2014, which I think is really cool because we have Scribe and Wayfarer. But right after this, I'm holding it with my neck, we move on, still in chapter 4, to the species descriptions, as they're no longer called races, they're called species. They took out stuff and added stuff. So before we go over what they took out and added, here in the 2014 book, we have dwarf, elf, halfling, human, dragonborn, gnome, half-elf, half-orc, and tiefling. Now, the dwarf, elf, halfling, and gnome have sub-race options. Remember those. I have them listed right here on the side of my head for a reason. Here, in the 2024 Player's Handbook, we have the Aasimar with their, and they aren't sub-race options, they're transformation options, which is kind of what they did with Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse book. When they added the Aasimar in there, they took out sub-races for it and they gave it transformation options, which are permanent once you take them. They're kind of a sub-race still. But then we have Dragonborn. And the Dragonborn in 2014 were pretty cool. However, they got 2 more things added to them in this edition. Now, their breath weapon has gotten a boost. You don't really see the boost until 11th or 17th level, where at 17th level, your breath weapon does 4d10 damage, where in the 2014, I think it was D6 damage or D8 damage. Either way, it's less than the D10, but you still do more potentially early on versus later on with this version. However, they added dark vision finally. Dragonborns have dark vision. Now, I thought that that was such a stupid thing that Dragonborn would not have dark vision. Why wouldn't they have dark vision? They're dragons. They are descended from dragons. Why wouldn't they? They finally gave them dark vision, and then they get draconic flight at 5th level. They can channel their magic to give themselves temporary flight. Azamar got added. Dragonborn stayed and got more added to it. The dwarf. We have the dwarf in here, and they do not have a sub-race option. They got rid of it. So, and just to show you, this is the only page for dwarfs. Right here. Just one page. Dwarves do not have sub-race anymore. For elves, they have Drow, which was the dark elf, but / Drow in 2014, so that's still there. High elves and wood elves. They changed it up. I do like this. The elven lineages. I mean, so you can still hear me. They put them down here because at certain levels, you got certain things. So level 1, you get all these starting here. Level 3 and level 5, you get different spells depending on what lineage you went with or sub-race. So I do like that, but they took out stuff for them. So they kind of neutered the elves in a way. For gnome, you still have forest and rock gnome. They did change it a bit, so the information isn't in bold or anything, but their additional stuff is in the paragraphs with them. I don't know why they didn't give us a little table like they did with the elves lineage. But then, get this, they added Goliaths. Goliaths are in the 2024 Player's Handbook, and I believe they first showed up in Mordekainen's Tome of Foes as a playable race, and then they got added to Mordekainen's Monsters of the Multiverse as a playable race. Here, they're of course they're also in Rime of the Frost Maiden. I don't know what else they might be in. I don't, not 100% sure. But here they have giant ancestry. So you see all those Goliaths on this page here. Those are all Goliaths. They all look different because they are from different giant ancestries. We have Cloud Giant or Cloud Giant. We have Fire's Burn or Fire Giant. I'm just going to list them. Frost Giant, Hill Giant, Stone Giant, and Storm Giant. They each give you different abilities. I think that is really cool that Goliaths finally have more adaptability. However, they took one thing away from them that I think sucks. They took away their racial ability to withstand cold temperatures, to withstand extreme cold temperatures. That was one of the main reasons why they were put into the Rime of the Frost Maiden book as a playable race. Now, of course, you can use that version if your DM or if you, the DM, allow it. Halflings, just one page, and no mention of any other sub-options, lineage. Humans, typical. Orcs, yeah, full orcs, not half orcs, full orcs. They got rid of half orcs and replaced them with orcs. Here we go. There we are. I was trying to figure myself where I was. Yeah. So we have full orcs, which I'm actually playing one in my current game in Sigil with a Sunday group on roll 20. However, that orc is from Mordekainen's Monsters of the Multiverse. And then Tiefling. Tieflings in the Player's Handbook just have the one thing, the one stat of information. In Mordekainen's Tome of Foes is where we got sub-race options, which replaced the hellish and infernal heritage, I think is what it was, which gave you like hellish rebuke and some other things. Here we have the legacies of abyssal, chthonic or chthonic, and infernal. Those give you different resistances as well as cantrips that you know. Then at level 3 you get a different spell, and at level 5 you get a different spell. So that's really cool. I like that. That is it. So yeah, notice how the list of things that are added and taken out. It's cool, but at the same time it sucks. And I'll show you. The tieflings options are really nice, actually. I like the art. But then after that is chapter 5, the feats. And these are broken up. Now, you will see these looking just like they do in Baldur's Gate 3. Like the feat list is just like in Baldur's Gate 3. So I do like that. But then they are broken up into different chapters or different sections. You have options, you have origin feats, which you get from your origin or your background. You get general feats that you can take when you level up. You have fighting style feats, as well as epic boon feats. Chapter 6 is equipment. So it shows you your weapons, which is another thing that they changed. They added mastery properties. So some classes will give you mastery with certain weapons, and weapons, so I'll show you that, have mastery. So very top, you see club. It's a 1d4 bludgeoning, property is light, mastery is slow. Here, we have a list telling us what those masteries mean. Slow. If you hit a creature with this weapon and deal damage to it, you can reduce its speed by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. If the creature is hit more than once by weapons that have this property, the speed reduction doesn't exceed 10 feet. I do think that adding a mastery feature is cool. And then, you all know me, if you've been following me long enough, you know I like visual representation. The weapons all have representation. They all have visual representation. We see what they look like. So you're not going, oh, what's a maul look like? Because I remember when I first heard maul, I thought it was some kind of bladed weapon. No, it's a damn hammer. So I like that. And then same with the armor. It gives you examples of the armor. So I really like that. And then you get your list of tools. Now, the tools aren't listed like everything else is in a list. They are broken down right away, which, as someone who learns the way I do, I find that too distracting. I like some organization that, okay, these are the tools. Next pages show you what the tools are, like all their information. We've got the adventuring gear, and everything, of course, is, now that's all in a list. Like, it's actually in a table. Let me not tear my new book. But they're all on a table. And then they break them down in the next pages, like in the following pages. I prefer that. That's what I prefer to see. And then the next chapter is chapter 7, spells. And then I like how here it says spell preparation by class. It tells you your class, you change when you, for bards, gain a level, clerics finish a long rest, all that. And then the number of spells. So that's really cool. I like that. And then, of course, it gives you information, the effects of the types of schools of magic here. I do like that. And then they, of course, they added more spells. They even added some things from Tasha's Cauldron, I believe. So that's the end of the spells. We have the multiverse. We actually have better imagery for the multiverse and the different planes, as well as we get to see sigil. Right here, the little donut. That little donut on the stick is sigil, which is the center of the outer planes. I like that. That is really cool. That's actually where the campaign that I'm playing in is taking place. Then we have creatures by stat blocks. So I think that's really cool. And then cats. Cats have dark vision finally. Something they should have had in the beginning. They finally gave cats dark vision. Can you believe that? Finally. Now this is a little more, there are different things in here versus the 2014. They have more and less. Some of the things that are in here weren't in there, and things that were in there aren't in here. Then we have the rules glossary, which I think is really, really useful. And then the index. So that is my brief rundown of the differences and comparisons of the 2014 versus the 2024 Player's Handbooks for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I will, like I said, be doing a more in-depth overview of the book, and like we'll go like chapter by chapter, but also section by section of each chapter, so I'm not overwhelming you and myself. But if you found that interesting, please let me know. Hit this video give this video a thumbs up, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then hit the bell icon, set notifications to all, get notified when I upload videos and do live streams. I do want to do another build and or paint stream soon, so I will be doing that on a Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am going to be doing more videos on the Player's Handbook. I'm thinking about getting the Dungeon Master's Guide, and I know that the Monster Manual is going to be coming out soon, so that's interesting. And then also please comment down below, did you find this interesting? Did you not find it interesting? If you have it, what do you like versus don't like from the 2014 into the 2024? What do you wish the 2024 had versus what are you glad it has? What do you miss or not miss from the 2014? Are you using the 2024 rules for your games now? I want to hear from you. I want to interact with you all. I want and need to learn more about this, and I am a visual learner as well as an interactive learner, so please help me out here. And then please lastly, share this video, bring awareness to my channel, help me continue to grow. Gonna go ahead and end it there, so please as always take care of yourselves. And until next time, hobby on.